It's back.
Hashtag no jokes.
Hashtag no jokes with Eddie Nesta and friends. New time, Sundays, 12 o'clock. The lockdown edition. The lockdown edition.
Sicker than your average podcast. Trying to reach your levels, but this one is top class. Eddie Nesta, I told you he's the best. The best. Sicker than your average podcast. Trying to reach your levels, but this one is top class. Eddie Nesta, I told you he's the best. Sicker than your average podcast. Trying to reach your levels, but this one is top. Eddie Nesta, I told you he's the best. Sicker than your average podcast. Trying to reach your levels, but this one is top class. Eddie Nesta, I told you he's the best. Sicker than your average podcast. Trying to reach your levels, but this one is top class. Eddie Nesta, I told you he's the best. In the UK. Sicker than your average podcast. Trying to reach your levels, but this one is top class. Eddie Nesta, I told you he's the best. Hashtag no jokes. Hashtag no jokes.
The lockdown edition. The lockdown edition.
Hashtag no jokes. Hashtag no jokes. Hashtag no jokes.
It's back.
Hashtag no jokes.
Hashtag no jokes with Eddie Nesta and friends. New time, Sundays, 12 o'clock. The lockdown edition. The lockdown edition.
Sicker than your average podcast. Trying to reach your levels, but this one is top class. Eddie Nesta, I told you he's the best. Sicker than your average podcast. Trying to reach your levels, but this one is top class. Eddie Nesta, I told you he's the best. Sicker than your average podcast. Trying to reach your levels, but this one is top class. Eddie Nesta, I told you he's the best. In the UK. Sicker than your average podcast. Trying to reach your levels, but this one is top class. Eddie Nesta, I told you he's the best. Hashtag no jokes. Hashtag no jokes.
The lockdown edition. The lockdown edition.
Hashtag no jokes. Hashtag no jokes. Hashtag no jokes.
It's back.
Hashtag no jokes.
Hashtag no jokes with Eddie Nesta and friends. New time, Sundays, 12 o'clock. The lockdown edition. The lockdown edition.
Sicker than your average podcast. Trying to reach your levels, but this one is top class. Eddie Nesta, I told you he's the best. Sicker than your average podcast. Trying to reach your levels, but this one is top class. Eddie Nesta, I told you he's the best. Sicker than your average podcast. Trying to reach your levels, but this one is top class. Eddie Nesta, I told you he's the best. In the UK. Sicker than your average podcast. Trying to reach your levels, but this one is top class. Eddie Nesta, I told you he's the best. Hashtag no jokes. Hashtag no jokes.
The lockdown edition. The lockdown edition.
Hashtag no jokes. Hashtag no jokes. Hashtag no jokes.
It's back.
Hashtag no jokes.
Hashtag no jokes with Eddie Nesta and friends. New time, Sundays, 12 o'clock. The lockdown edition. The lockdown edition.
Sicker than your average podcast. Trying to reach your levels, but this one is top class. Eddie Nesta, I told you he's the best. Sicker than your average podcast. Trying to reach your levels, but this one is top class. Eddie Nesta, I told you he's the best. Sicker than your average podcast. Trying to reach your levels, but this one is top class. Eddie Nesta, I told you he's the best. In the UK. Sicker than your average podcast. Trying to reach your levels, but this one is top class. Eddie Nesta, I told you he's the best. Sicker than your average podcast. Trying to reach your levels, but this one is top class. Eddie Nesta, I told you he's the best.
It's back.
Hashtag no jokes.
Hashtag no jokes with Eddie Nesta and friends. New time, Sundays.
Eddie Nestor, Curtis Walker, Angela Marr, everybody at No Joke, I'm calling to wish you guys a happy new year. Me and Kemi, yeah, this is Kemi. This is my fur baby. Look what's become of me. I moved to America. and now I got a dog. This is what happens. You get corrupted. Anyway, I'm looking forward to 2021 as we all are, because 2020 has frankly been a bag of musty testicles. But we're almost in a new year. Everybody, stay safe, stay in your houses, and one day you'll get to see me on No Joke if Eddie makes it happen. He's trying to make me get up at 4 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday to do his show. I can't do it. Nobody's getting me up at 4 o'clock in the morning, Eddie. Nobody. I love you, but not enough to get up at 4 a.m. So let's do this. Let's change the time so I can come and do a little appearance on No Joke and chat rubbish for you. Happy New Year, everybody. Stay safe. Stay in your houses. Me and Kemi are out now. Say bye, Kemi. She's sleepy. And she don't give a damn about you people. Look at her face. She's like, I don't care. I don't care about you people. Happy New Year.
That's Gina Yeshere. Happy New Year to you. Thank you so much for joining. Hashtag No Joke. It's a brand new year, brand new tier. I wake up to more texts about what's happening with schools and education. We'll be talking about that. It's the number one thing on our agenda. And if I'm honest with you, it's the number one thing in my life. You know, I think that if we dealt with education, we maybe have a better chance on the streets of London, because that nonsense is still going on. So if there's a problem that you're having, a challenge, a question you want to ask, I've got 3 amazing guests. I'm so proud of those people, what they've achieved, and the fact that we've got them on the show. So please send your messages, send them in nice and early, and we'll get the boss lady to read those messages out for you. So how's it been then? How's it been? Let me ask you a question then. What's the thing you're looking forward to doing most, eh? In 2021, what's the thing that you got lined up that you couldn't really do properly in 2020, but you're going to unleash yourself on 2021? I'd like to ask you that first of all. What are you looking forward to? I asked that question a couple of days ago when I was playing music with my brethren, Lewis Mastermind Ben, and Arlene messaged in to say, dancing in a room with more than 6 people. Well, we go to one comedian doing incredibly well across the pond, to one who's here and who's absolutely brassic. Curtis Walker, greetings to you.
Good afternoon, sir, and happy New Year.
And to you. Oh yeah, you got that one. Yeah, get rid of the Christmas. We got the New Year.
It's all New Year's, man. It's all New Year's.
How are you, Curtis?
Right.
How are you, mate?
I'm very well, sir. Trying to survive in this time. Bit confused, I did my cycling, so I've got my energy going towards that.
Is that what you got for Christmas?
I didn't know. I got the dog one that ties onto the side of the bike. So you want to see us? He's running beside it. No, he's cycling and I'm running beside it.
What's this dog thing anyway? Gina's gone to America, got herself a dog. I don't know about you, but I was just waiting for that thing to urinate all over her. That's what I was waiting.
It will do, because any dog you can pick up is not a dog. Yeah, it's a substitute for stuff. Yeah, you ain't supposed to have dog in your hands licking your face. This ain't Robbie D show. You got to put the dog down and let the dog be a dog. These are the arguments I have in the park, because I let my dog be a dog. I don't want it to be a baby. I don't want it to be a small child. I don't want it to be my best friend. It's a dog. When people trouble me, scare them off. That's your job, and you socialize. I don't.
He's never lived that down, you know. In Snatch, when that dog licked up his face and all kinds of things. Rob's never lived that down, and I remind him of that as often as I possibly can. On Gina, though, really quickly. I mean, it's we've been trying to get her on, as you know, and she just says in the language I can't use on this. She's not getting up at that time in the morning, and she posted something for New Year's Day. I don't know if you see it, because we've had a tough 2020, right? And resilience is the thing, Curtis. When I saw this picture, I had to check her really, really differently. Take a look at Gina in 2014. So Gina was having a tough time. I don't know if any of you know, and I've asked her permission to talk about this. She was having a really tough time, and not only did her hair start falling out, I went to eat with her one day, and she couldn't actually turn the top of the bottle. She had lupus, and then she went over there to live a better life. And also because Jocelyn got a series on the BBC, and she said there were never going to be two Nigerian women on the BBC. But to see it. That's what but that's the truth.
You had to go there.
But
I had to go there.
Hold on a minute. That is the truth. And
yeah, it's her truth. You know what you're sharing that bit. She said you could talk about her lupus and how
shut up. When did you become
No, because
when did you become Obama? When did you become Obama?
Obama or Obama?
Same thing.
They're two different things, man. Believe. Yeah, she's just a fighter. And the thing about Gina, like you say, with the lupus, because remember Bev Randall, dear friend of ours, had it as well. And it's that physicality. But Gina is such a inspiration, because through all of that, she just keeps going. She's a machine. She keeps going, you know. And people get confused because her ambition, for me anyway, when I first met Gina, was very ugly. It was just the ugliest thing ever. And then once you get to
hold
know
on a
her,
minute, Curtis. Was it ugly? Because this is what's always fascinated me about her, right? Was it ugly because you'd never seen it in a woman? Or was it ugly?
No, it was just ugly. It was just ugly.
Okay.
Because
explain to people what you mean by ugly before they get on the comments.
Oh, I don't mind. That's what it's about, isn't it? It's for a person like myself, and Gina's energy is all consuming. I put it in my book about a show we were working on, Blazenster, and working with a writer, Paul McKenzie. And me and Paul McKenzie are kind of good friends. So we're in a room just laughing. It's not about the show. We were just sitting in a room running joke like you do. Gina burst into the room with a big, so what are you lot doing? What are you lot doing? What you writing? Are you writing for him and not writing for me? What you writing? And I'm like, whoa. And that energy is a lot. Do you know what I mean? And remember, we didn't know each other that well at that point. And I'm thinking, wow, this girl is on. But it's that energy that so suits her move to America. Because whereas in Britain, we're kind of, in past times, we hold our corner and we don't make waves. Gina's a different person. She will go in and say, why haven't I got that? Why is she doing that and I'm not doing that? Why isn't anybody giving me that? And that's the energy you need. You need that kind of energy, that self-belief. And so when she was going through her illness, and just to correct you a little bit, it wasn't America that she went to get clean, because she was eating raw here.
Yeah, I know that, because she was doing it
a raw diet.
Right, she was coming in. They were doing food dehydration. She was doing it with Miss Lady, so she was coming here. I understand that. It was a whole thing that she had to kind of do something new, because she wasn't getting what she wanted.
And like you said about the Jocelyn and the TV industry, whatever, it did break her and force the move. It forced the move. You know what I mean? But she's always been on her health, always been on it. The raw food, I remember her taking me out for something and it's raw. I'm not the guy. I appreciate it. I understand what you're doing, but don't give me nothing that's raw unless it's all a vegetable.
Me and her would have been closer if it wasn't for that foolishness. I got it in my house. I don't really need to get it out on the street as well. Miss Lady's went for a run this morning, come back with a whole pile of leaves from the forest, putting it in a pot to boil it. What foolishness is that?
Well, Eddie, at your age, you should be doing it, bruv, because you need to prolong. Aren't you tired of turning up at school and people telling your kids your granddad's here? Come on.
You think you're joking, right? That's what happened. That's what happened the other day. It was about a year ago that I got really upset and people started laughing. I got on the tube and somebody got up for me on the tube. I was so upset. Anyway, let's get someone on the show who's even older than me, actually. So I've been an admirer. She was my Susan Penhaligon, my fancy, my look at her in the telly. I loved her. I'm not frightened to get up in my feelings, right? And neither should you be, Curtis, right? So take a look at this lady. I think this was recorded back in about 1988. Take a look at this lady.
Good afternoon. The news so far today. Environment Secretary Nicholas Ridley is in Liverpool now, announcing plans to double the size of the Merseyside Development Corporation. The move is part of a government package aimed at helping the inner cities.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for educator, broadcaster, radio host, mother, and fantastic human being, Miss Julia Alexander.
Whoa, what an introduction.
Isn't it?
Absolutely.
I mean,
It's been all those years and you can't send her your camera yet.
No, the camera sent. Hey, you leave her alone.
it's
You leave her alone. Thank you very
Tell me
much.
about my cameraman. Listen,
Okay. Right.
don't tell me about my camera.
Juliet, thank you for doing this. I really
pleasure.
appreciate it. As I
Yeah,
said,
happy new year to you all.
yeah, absolutely.
Oh, happy new
Well done.
year.
It,
See what I did there?
yes,
Yeah, that's what you did, mate. You look stunning. You look stunning.
Thank you, darling.
Oh.
But of course, my hair also has fallen out. Remember, I used to have long blonde tresses and ting, you know.
no, you didn't. You didn't.
No,
So that in that clip is the longest I've ever known your hair. Was it a big decision? One of the things about Gina being incredibly brave in that picture there is my mum always used to say that thing: a woman here is her beauty.
That's
Did
right.
you get that in Guyana?
Oh, good God, yes. Oh, one of the first times when I went back, because my father was still alive then, and I went back home and people didn't recognize me. I remember going to see a friend and she said, she was talking about somebody called Joyce. And I said, yes, that's my mother. And she would say, oh, this woman, she had long, beautiful hair and a straight nose. I said, yes, that's my mother. She went,
You?
You come up to her.
but fortunately, as you know, my children are beautiful. So it obviously jumps a generation. So what can I say?
Oh, shush, you're beautiful, babe. You know that.
So you've gone from being a broadcaster. I think years when I really first started. I think we came onto one of the shows. So there was Black Britain, there was Ebony, wasn't there?
Mm-hmm. Ebony, John Craven's News Round, all sorts of songs of praise, all sorts of weird and wonderful things in those days.
And then latterly, when I was looking for you it must have been about 9 or 10 years ago, you were head of Bernie Grant Art Centre in Tottenham.
Oh gosh, yes, that's right. You know what? I was thinking about that last night in preparation for coming here, and I was thinking about the things that happen. Because last year, 2020, obviously there's been horrendous upsets. There's been amazing things happening with Black Lives Matter, lots of education, lots of people doing things that they never would have thought they could do before. And it reminded me a little bit of Bernie Grant, because the one thing that I was proud about doing there was bringing in place things like Courtney Pine, Ballet Black, to audiences that had not seen that, and giving free tickets to little kids to just come. I have one memory. It was hilarious. Ballet Black were there. They were doing a fabulous set. And in the front row, there was a mother and 2 little kids, and they'd clearly come via Kentucky. And they were just sitting there in the front row, Bernie Grant, eating this Kentucky and looking awestruck at Ballet Black. And afterwards, the guy said to me, we've never had an audience like that. But at the end of it, everybody jumped up. They threw the chicken away and they cheered like they were going wild with excitement.
Wow. Yeah.
You know the thing about that story is I remember when we were doing the posse in the early 90s, we were what they call it, I think, Hugh Edwards would tell you, it's like the hard to reach audiences.
Yes.
And even us doing this here now, and you kind of think, haven't we got past that now? It's 2021. But actually, the way that many working class Black people watch theatre and television is really different. Curtis, does your mum talk to the telly?
Not anymore, Eddie, because if you're sitting with her, she knows not to do it. But even yesterday, I ran up because I heard her screaming last night. And I said, yo, did you call me? She goes, no, I never called me. And then I look at the TV and I'm saying, are you chatting at the telly, mum? Even last night. She goes, no. But if you hear the noise, I thought something was happening to her upstairs, But no, she does it when she's on her own. When you're there, she holds it down. It's very annoying.
No, I think it's necessary. I think that's the way we watch theatre, like pantomime. You shout.
Yeah.
I imagine so many times, Curtis, with the outrageous things you've said, people have been shouting at their telly and at their screen.
Yeah, but that means you're engaging in it. The amount of cussing you get, my word, even in this house. Let him talk, man. Let him talk. Sorry, go on.
So Julia, you've prompted us really to talk. In the first instance, I'd like to ask people to message in because they're read by the boss lady, all the messages. Yours were old programs of a time. Julia, on the spot now, what is a program that you would like to see brought back and why?
Do you know what? I love Blouse and Skirt. I know they're bringing it back in bits. I just love Blouse and Skirt. You know, remember the TV presenter? I think it was Llewellyn. And she said, the news came to her and she said, I want a baby.
Oh, it's Real McCoy.
Real McCoy, yeah. I'm mixing them up. And that to me, everyone thought it was me, you see. And I just love that. I just love Real McCoy, Blouse and Skirt. I love, do you know what? I love black humor. I just think it's hilarious. I love
what is black humor? In black humor,
that's the thing. Everybody makes that distinction, but it's a rhythm, isn't it? It's a rhythm. It's like I've always said about Scottish humor, Irish humor. There's a rhythm to it, and it was like years ago when a show called Ramsey Nesbitt first came out, and I thought it was hilarious. Yeah. But it took a while to get that Scottish, well, particularly Glaswegian humor, to get the rhythm of it. And it's so similar to a West Indian humor, as is a lot of humor, but we define it differently. But at the end of the day, humor is humor, and whatever gets you will get you. With our humor, it doesn't really get that chance to engage or to develop that new audience on a kind of industrial level. You know, you'll have one show every 5 years. And I know that is changing. I hope it's changing. But our humor is it is what can bring us together. Every time I see a problem, or politically or mentally, humor is the answer a lot of the time, and people don't give it enough credit in the way that it can help everybody through certain situations.
Well, it is.
And I think our humor is important to be on TV and to be seen. For us culturally, it's so important. It's always a thing where they don't take the time to engage with it, to learn it, as I had to learn with the Glaswegian humor with Ramsey Nesbitt, which is a brilliant show.
Well, they always give them time. They don't give our series
time. Well, hold on. Before we get carried away, first thing is, I think we have to take a leave from the Americans and don't wait for anybody. Do your own thing. There's an audience. Clearly, there's an audience. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing that. Secondly, stop being your mother and father. It's not Ramsey Nesbitt. I'm sure it's Rab C. Nesbitt.
All right.
Just do that. And thirdly,
Eddie.
I am going to be that. Yeah, we've got teachers, educationalists. We've got to be on point today. I'm looking at commas, semicolons. I'm there. Yeah, right. We're going.
Right, don't mess up, bro. I'm on it. Don't mess up.
I am going to.
You better articulate the hell out of this show.
But on that rhythm thing, Curtis, just before we move on, right? On that rhythm thing, the guy who wrote Ramsey Nesbitt also wrote The Crouches.
Right.
And
that to me was a mark of disrespect because go on.
It has had the single greatest cast I have ever seen assembled for any project involving black people. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't want to start, but I can if you want me to. It had everybody in it. It had the creme. It had the best comedic actors, the best actors. Joe was in it. Robbie was in it. Rudolph was it. So many people were in it, and it didn't work because it did not come from the right place.
No, it did not come from the right place. And I'll give you a little story. Try and keep it short. I actually went up for a part in there. Met the writer, met him, and I had a scene where the young son comes in, the grandson of Rudolph's character, and puts his trainers on the dining table. And this was a scene, and I said to the writer, that wouldn't happen. That just wouldn't happen. And he says, do you know every black family in Britain? And I said,
yes.
I know. Yes. I said, yes, I know a damn sight more than you do.
That's why, and you didn't get it, Curtis.
I didn't get it, but you didn't get it back to me when they realized it wasn't right. They came back to me to do the warm up for the studio warm up. I did it for about a day, And it just washing me with such negativity, Eddie. I just said, I can't do it anymore. I cannot even do the warm-up on this thing. Because it was a beautiful opportunity, as you said, full of people I love and was desperate to see. But what he did, and he can deny it if he wants, but I challenged him on it, the writer, he was asked to write a show. He went to his cupboard, he pulled out a show that he had written, and it was originally called 40 Acres and a Mule.
That's exactly what it was called.
Yes, and he pulled it out from the archive. He didn't even take the time to engage with black writers of the day or modern writers of the day and do it as a team thing, you know, because he'd made his money already. He was an established somebody. And what they didn't do was reach out to another generation of writers and give them an opportunity to write on the show. And that's what was the nail in the coffin for that show.
Right, so let's move on, because otherwise it sounds like I'm moaning, and we don't want to do that, because I'd have to then reveal that after the first series, and I cussed the producer. They asked me to come in and try and help them, but you know, rigor mortis had already set in. It was already gone.
We've seen examples of this recently. I know you don't want to go back and talk about this, but we've seen examples about this recently. Just because the writer is black doesn't mean that they've got their finger on the pulse.
No.
All right, I see where you're going. Okay, let's leave.
If you're writing a character-based comedy, you would engage somebody who would know that culture a little.
Let's look at the piece of work as a whole, Juliet. And if we look at the piece of the series as a whole, then we have to give it a tick, a definite B+. Let's, Juliet, I did warn you, right? I warned you. We're in school now. Don't let me give you detention. Right.
Thank God they've abolished caning.
Right. So we're going to come to education. It's the root of the show, if I'm honest with you. So much to be said about whether children go back, why so many black people are being, children, are being expelled from school. How do you navigate the system? How do you best support the teachers in the classroom? We've got lots of that to talk about, right? Before we get into that, I just want to quickly mention, because I don't know where we are with AstraZeneca, Pfizer. Can you mix them, take one the week after the other, take it 3 weeks late? I don't know. I am confused where we are with the vaccine. Although I was amused by this picture of how this person changed once they had taken the vaccine. He does actually look like him, doesn't he?
Very good.
That's the
very
thing.
good. Yeah.
Julia, you would be before me and Curtis on that list to take the vaccine. How you? Because you're older. How are you feeling?
How am I feeling? Okay. I probably wouldn't be, because unfortunately I have allergies and various other things. So I may not be, because I don't do well with injections. However, I'm going to be honest. If it's a matter between life and death, which is what it seems to be, then I would take it, definitely. And if I had older resident people, family who are even older than I am, I would ask them to consider it, because I would prefer them to be alive.
So how would you know if it was life and death? Because we're essentially, in everything that we talk about today, we're going to get down to the issue of trust. I woke up this morning, it says Boris Johnson says, if the schools are open, send your children. Next message says Boris Johnson is paving the way for even stricter. Everybody's talking about what is tier 5, effectively a complete lockdown. And so those two messages have come in today. So how do you know that it's life or death, Julia?
You know what? My sister's a nurse in Kent. Long before it came through to London, it was in Kent. My sister told me about her intensive care unit and the numbers, the additional numbers on a daily and a weekly basis. She told me about her colleagues who were succumbing to COVID. She told me of one colleague, a lady from, I think it's Montserrat, who died, a nurse. She told me a lot of information. I have a lot of medical colleagues and friends and family. I'm not listening to Mr. Boris. I'm listening to people. Yeah, I'm listening to people right there who are telling me what's happening. I'm also listening to people who I know have lost their mothers. One of them is listening right now. She might come on in a minute. She's lost her mother. She lost her brother, you know? I know other people who've lost their mothers, their family. So I'm not listening to our Prime Minister. I'm listening to the people at the deep end.
Right.
And they're telling me it's serious.
Right. And that's the problem, isn't it, Curtis? That Julia is absolutely right, that when you look at the way they've handled the returning of children to schools, because when my children came off for Christmas, every single person on every WhatsApp group we're on was saying they're not going back. The figures determined that they cannot be going back. And yet we were told that they were going back, and now we're told that in London they're not going back. And what this does is it erodes trust, doesn't it?
Of course.
It would appear as though our government is reactive and not proactive. And if it's not proactive, then as a parent, I have to look after my family.
That's right.
That's the problem, because now everybody's making it up. But what you would do, Curtis, is different to what Juliet would do, is different to what I would do.
Of course it is, but you've got to, as Juliet said, I've got friends and family who are teachers, and they're terrified, Eddie. All they want to do is educate children, all right? That is it's innate in them. But they're scared. They are terrified, because at this point, we're being told there's another strain that is more reactive in young people, right? Teachers are being told they can't meet their family, 5 people in one house, you can't meet them, but yet you can go and teach a classroom full of 30 children. It doesn't make sense. And the teachers just want to teach. And what a lot of them are saying is schools have to stay closed, and the government and education authorities need to readjust. And if it is a case where you haven't got Wi-Fi in your house, get Wi-Fi into people's homes, because this is just going to keep happening. Even on this show, some of your guests months ago said there should be a massive lockdown. Just lock it all down. Let's get rid of this thing one time. And no, you didn't. You rolled it out. You can go to school, you can't. You can stay in your house, you can't. And it's the mixed messaging and the blatant confusion on this idiot Boris Johnson's face. And I said it, Eddie, not you. This guy's face that is not helping the society. We're all a little bit nervous of you. We don't trust you. We believe you don't know what you're doing. And as you said, proactive rather than reactive. And you elected a Brexit prime minister, and this is what you get. When other issues happen, he has no clue. When Brexit happens, he has no clue. This guy was a clown from day one. You elected him, and this is why we are in the situation we're in, where it's just confusion reigning. I'll do what I have to do for me and my family. You do what you have to do for you and yours. And teachers, we salute you, we love you, and we get it. We get it. And teachers are being made to feel bad because some of them are sick. Some of them are sick. And they're being treated a certain way because they haven't fought the fight. Oh, we're going in like soldiers. Oh, we're going to go in. They're scared of it. Teachers are terrified. Students are terrified. Because imagine if you're a young person with the confusion reigning now. Nobody's leading you. And every young person needs a leader, needs somebody to show them this is how we're going to do it. As much as they front and mask it, they're scared as well.
Yes, they are. The parents are scared, the kids are scared, the teachers are scared. And don't forget, teachers are human beings with families as well.
Yeah, they are.
Thing is,
I've got one. Julia, I'm going to come back to you. But I can already see the time is running away. Let me quickly get the boss lady on, and then I'm going to get a teacher on to join this conversation. Our teacher, the best teacher, according to Times Education Supplement. We'll get her on in a minute. Afternoon to you, boss lady.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Hello, Juliet.
Hello, Lisa.
You okay? Lots of people happy to see you on there. They're saying you're an inspiration, and you were one of the first black women on TV, and they love you.
Thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate that. Really do.
And they're also bigging up Gina, saying how much of a fighter she is. Lots of people have read her article when they're out there supporting her, and glad she's travelled that road and come out healthier at the end. Yeah. And with regards to the comments, Nanton says, I'm not taking any vaccine. It has come about too soon and not sufficient research. Dawn says she can't wait to have the vaccine. Michelle says at her school from the 11th, all teachers and kids will be tested. And Garfield says you cannot mix and match vaccines. That's just ridiculous. Sonzi says Boris and his cabinet do not know what they are doing. Listen to the medics in the hospital, not on the TV shuffling papers on behalf of Boris. And Eddie, you asked a question earlier on about what people are looking forward to in 2021. Lots of these are after the lockdown. Lisa says raving. Alison says human.
Yeah.
That's
Down
not
with
me,
that one.
Lisa. Okay, another Lisa. Alison says human contact. Colin says more comedy. Cedric says to hug more people. Lorraine says making real connections, not just online. Ida says staying healthy and being fit. And Garfield says traveling, which a lot of people have said. That's what I think I missed the most, traveling.
Ooh,
I
and you went
agree.
for a run this morning, didn't you?
I went for a run. I'm trying to
That's
do
traveling.
my run. No, I'm trying to do my run every morning. But anyway, we've got another new sponsor. I just want to big up the two that we already have, which is SEMA. They do design, engineering, and recruitment for the defence and the private sectors. We've got Little Bird by Alison Delaney. It's a gold standard company helping individuals achieve their full potential. And we've got the legendary Lewis Mastermind.
What?
Yeah, who will be playing music from 4 to 7 this afternoon. Here are his details.
I'll go pull it up.
Pull up that song there, dog.
Allow me.
Oh, for those days when you could do it again, eh, Lewis?
Keep talking, son. I let the music do my talking, mate.
No.
Nice. Oh, that's beautiful, guys. That was so nice.
Make sure you tune in this afternoon. Don't forget to like, hashtag, and share. See you later. Bye-bye.
Thanks very much, boss lady there. And remember, as I say, 4 to 7, Lewis Mastermind, Ben, on all forums. And I believe we're on Instagram also today. So that's a new thing for us. So 2 questions we're asking, first of all, alongside our education stuff. Think about this one, guys. What program would you like to see come back? And the other one, Curtis, you haven't answered that one yet. What's the worst thing to step on in a dock? We'll get to those in a little while. Julia, you didn't need to go there. But we've been talking teaching. It's an education special today. Here's a lady that I interviewed on my drive time show on BBC Radio London. I'm just so inspired by her. I love what she's doing. I love her spirit. Take a look at this lady and why she's on the show.
Hi, I'm Miss Ford. I'm Head Teacher of the Year at Copthall School.
Good afternoon.
The winner of the Head Teacher of the Year award is Evelyn Ford, Copthall School.
It is the Oscars of education. To be a black female head teacher leading an all-girls school is just phenomenal. I see myself as a role model for my girls, and I always talk to them about, you know, the glass ceiling and how hard we've all got to work.
Miss Ford, welcome to hashtag No Joke.
Thank you.
Congratulations to you. Wonderful. As I say, you came on Times Education Supplement, Head Teacher of the Year. And we're not leaving it out. Full congratulations. In the New Year's Honours list, you have been awarded an MBE. Welcome. Welcome to the show. Fantastic.
Thank you for having me.
How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm pretty chuffed actually. I'm in a really good place. Yeah, thank you.
So sometimes you work hard, and I can imagine, and we're going to get to all the things that, you know, Julia and Curtis have been talking about. It must be a difficult place. I imagine you're an accountant, you're having to manage children, you're having to manage, facilities, medical facilities, cooking facilities, and the teachers themselves and parents. Tell me about how it feels to be acknowledged for something good as opposed to having problems brought to your table.
Well, you know, Eddie, my journey has been a really interesting journey because I'm a Northwest London girl, kind of was brought up on Church End Estate in Willesden, and went to Willesden High, and, you know, that was a whole nother story. So my journey's been you know, it's not been easy. And to be a black female senior leader has come with its challenges. So for me to be acknowledged in this way, I think it just sends a message to, you know, people in the profession and, you know, people who are looking for those senior position roles to really, for them to also acknowledge that they too can become, you know, and they can achieve. So like I said on that clip, I'm a role model for young girls in particular, but I think I'm a role model for our community just generally. I've got 3 girls myself, I've got a granddaughter. So, you know, I feel immensely proud of what I've achieved, you know, personally and professionally. So yeah, I'm definitely on a high at the minute.
You know, one of the brilliant things about doing this is it allows somebody like me to acknowledge people, to say thank you for what you do. We honor you, we cherish you, we respect you. I mean, I know there's a guy called Keith Ejegbo, Sir Keith Ejegbo, who was my English teacher, and he, along with Mr. Pete, they 2 black teachers. Those are the only 2 exams I ever passed, taught to me by 2 black men.
Wow.
That as I've processed that stuff, and I remember at 11 being told by another teacher, Mr. Stansfield, that when I said I wanted to be a lawyer, that I needed to set my sights more realistically. And you know, it shows how important you are. Do you understand? They hang on your every word. Do you understand your position?
Yeah, you know, I'm humbled by my position. You know, I get it, and I'm immensely privileged, and I don't take my position lightly. You know, so whatever I can do for the children that I serve, but also for other professionals coming up the ladder. And I have this mantra that you should never pull the ladder up behind you, because we need to bring people with us, because, you know, the stats are there's only 3% of, you know, black and Asian head teachers, 3%. And if you look at London and how diverse it is and the communities that we serve, it is just not representative. So yeah, I'm immensely privileged, immensely humbled, and I never take it lightly.
Right, I know I'm not going to take you down this particular road. We talked about this, but I do have to say, how big are your bubbles, and how challenging?
Are you getting close?
How big? You know what I mean? How big are your bubbles, and how challenging is it at the minute?
Okay, so I'm head at an all-girls school in Mill Hill in North London, Copthall Girls' School. I've got just under 1,000 girls. So we have 6 bubbles. So we've grouped them by year group, but year 12 and 13 are grouped together. So each bubble is approximately 150 girls. We have 5 different entrances, so they all have a different entrance to come into the school. They all have a different learning zone. They all have a different eating zone. So, you know, I'm not going to get political, but when you do hear the stuff that is coming out, it is not the true reality. And I would encourage, you know, ministers to come and walk in our footsteps and come and see the challenges that we're now faced with. So now school leaders are being asked to do mass testing. I went into the profession to educate, as Curtis was just saying. You know, I'm a fairly good educator. You know, I have done a first aid course, but now we're being asked to kind of, you know, do this mass testing that is going to take time. It's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
And be careful, they'll have you administering the vaccines in a couple of weeks.
Oh, I tell you.
I'm waiting for that.
Absolutely. I mean, in our school, ours is a school in Hackney, where I'm the head of careers. We started the mass testing the week before Christmas. And so I got my results on the Thursday, and Friday was the last day of term. Friday, it was like a ghost town.
Yeah.
All the people who didn't know that they were positive, all the teachers, the students, everybody just disappeared.
Yeah.
Hardly anyone in school on Friday, which makes you think, what's been going on here in the school?
Yeah. It's all very minute. It's all lastminute.com.
Yeah.
So the guidance comes out at midnight, changing their mind at the last minute. And I do think that, teachers and senior leaders, we're getting a bit of a rough deal at the minute because schools have never been closed. We've always been open for vulnerable kids and key worker children.
Very true.
We don't want to be closed any bigger than we have to. But what I'm saying is, I will open my school when it's safe for the children and it's safe for the staff.
Boris says it's safe.
It's not safe enough yet.
Yeah.
It's like
you see that? Hold on a minute, Evelyn. Did you hear that, Curtis? That is diplomacy.
That's how it works.
Did you hear her? Right.
That's why she's head teacher of the year. You got to be diplomatic. So what Boris is failing to understand, every school is so different. You're fortunate, even that you have 5 entrances for your students to come in. A lot of schools don't have that. They don't have that space to have 3, 4, 6 bubbles. They just don't have that space. The corridors alone break every guideline. The corridors of most schools break every guideline. And you can dress it up how you want, one way, that way. It's a mockery. It's impossible to do. And I feel for everybody in that education system that wants to educate children. But I firmly believe it has to change in the way we're doing it. We have to kind of modernize, as we've all had to adapt to social media and social. That has to be the energy for a while. If children haven't got Wi-Fi, get them Wi-Fi. If they haven't got computers, get them a computer. Because the teachers are only too willing to teach. And if you give them that opportunity to educate children, that's what they want to do. And if it means they have to do it from home or they go to the school and have it projected to the students, they are only too willing to do that.
Well, I'm going to stop you, Kurt. Let me stop you, Kurt. I can see the time, and you know how I am with bandwidth. Evelyn.
No, Evelyn.
Is it Evelyn?
Evelyn, Eddie. Evelyn.
Good.
This is education week. Let's go.
Educational, not educational. I'm educated. Right. So, the question I should have asked you, what was it about what you do? But it clearly isn't that day to day. So please forgive me. Right? I know what I should ask you, but I also know what I have to ask you. How can our parent best support you as a teacher, speaking generally now, to help their child achieve all that their child can possibly achieve?
Yeah, so I'm going to put COVID aside and kind of just generally, it's about having a relationship with the school. Some of my parents, like many schools, we've got hard to reach parents. And some of it is about their own anxieties and fears about their experiences of schools. And I think schools we've got to do some work around that. We've got to do some work about opening our doors more widely post-COVID to enable families to come in. But I think in terms of how, our communities can support us as teachers and school leaders, it's about communication, and just basic things like, updating us with your most recent telephone number, things like that. When we need to contact you, we need you to be available, and that's not always happening. Things like parents' evening. And I know, Eddie, we spoke about online parents' evening, which I think is the way forward. Forget all that mass, loads of people in a school hall, and I actually think we will reach more of our communities that way by having online parents' evenings. So I think it really is about having that relationship with the school, taking an interest, reading with your children, asking that. And I've got a teenager myself who might grunt when I ask her how's her day, but it really is about just pushing it. And, making schools accountable. We are there to serve your children. So ask us questions, and anything that you need, it is your right as a parent to have that from us. So I always talk about a two-way relationship. It's a relationship between the families and the schools. And, don't don't be scared of us. You know, come in, ask us questions, because we genuinely want to do the best by your children. So those would be the things that I would say that families could do.
Thank you so much for coming on to this show.
Oh, pleasure.
Congratulations to you. You are an inspiration to other senior leaders. You're going to be one of those executive heads soon, aren't you? With 18 schools under your belt.
Oh,
Aren't
no,
you?
I
Do
love
you
what
still
I
actually
do.
teach?
I hope not.
Do you
No.
still actually teach?
I don't. I don't teach, but what I do is I cover lessons for absent colleagues.
Okay.
So I'm in the classroom quite a bit, and I'm all over the school. So I don't.
You're a
mind-
supply head, are you?
I'm a what?
You're supply head. Supply head teacher. Listen, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you.
It's the key. Many communities have worked out that education is the way forward. You come to where I live, you can't get into one of the schools because people have worked out, particularly the Asian continent, that education is the way forward. I think it is an escape for lots of people. And I really appreciate you coming on to the show, talking to us as honestly as you have. And I wish you the very best of luck. Let's stay in contact. God bless you.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
That's Evelyn Ford, the head teacher of the year. Just before I go to the boss lady and bring on Sharon, Juliet, you've become my go-to person on education. You know, when you answer the phone, you know that, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, but I always think of you as like the other end, at the careers end, clearing, going to university. I had a Nigerian woman come on my show, and she's the only black person at that time that I'd ever heard say it. And her child was 9, and she said to me, "I am saving money because I expect my child to go to university." The conversation that we have more in this house, argument, discussion, reason, call it what you will, is about our children's education being 2 black boys, right? Is that a bad thing to say, do you think? I expect my child to go to university?
No. But you also need to know your child. You need to know what your child is interested in. And if the child's in year 9, that's not too early to start. Children nowadays, not in your days or my days, nowadays they choose their GCSEs in year 8. So this time of year now, I would have been preparing the year 8s as part of my careers thing for their next GCSE options. So making them aware that they don't just choose a subject because their mates got chosen it or because they like that teacher or whatever, but actually thinking forward. Because, for instance, if you want to be a medic and you don't choose certain subjects for GCSE,
it doesn't work.
That's closed off. The same with architecture to a certain extent. So year 9 is not a bad time. Year 8, you need to start them thinking about the things, not that they necessarily want to do at university, but the things that they're passionate about, the subjects they really enjoy. Because the subject that a child enjoys usually is the subject they do best in.
Just quickly, I'm going to ask you to come back when we're doing adult education. Just quickly before I bring the boss lady and Sharon on, I got a call and an email a few weeks ago saying that this lady had no luck, and she brought this story to me about what was my favorite book as a child, actually. It's Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men. And her issue with it was the use of the N-word liberally in it, and how that, I didn't want to give this one to Evelyn, how this one is brought onto the curriculum without discussion. It's a great book. Quickly, your thoughts on that book?
It should not be brought into a classroom without discussion, without prior discussion. That's absolute nonsense. Just as anything to do with English history or whatever subject, there needs to be prior discussion. It's not enough to say that that N-word was used back then.
It was
then.
Yeah.
I agree.
We're not interested in that.
I've had that. I can't explain to you how many teachers I've had that conversation with. And I say, you have to have the conversation about the word. You can't just, because there's a black kid sitting in there with white kids liberally using that word. You're like, hold on a minute. If you use that word to me outside, I'll be licking you in your head. How come it's all right in here? Okay, we'll do that another time. Sorry, I shouldn't have done that, but it was just in my head. Yeah, it was in my head. It was, boss lady.
Hey. Hello. Just they're loving Evelyn. Many people are saying, I know she's gone, but many people are saying congratulations, awesome, good representation. Alison says, that's why black role models in our schools are very important to the future of our success to our children. Elaine
That's
says,
right.
I had a black head teacher back in 1980. It makes a difference to your drive and determination.
Yeah.
Evelyn says, Hazel says, Evelyn, you have an excellent, smart objectives key. And Michelle says, yes, Miss Ford, lift as you climb. It's our duty to lift those behind us so we can climb. Jill Nichols says, Yvonne, our first sponsor. Jill Nichols says, I've been wondering how they expect you to test the children and teach them at the same time. Amanda says, at her school in Teddington, the teachers have requested parents with a medical background to volunteer to assist in mass testing. The government make plans for our kids without the real support. That's the first I've heard about that. Sheba says, have the government made it mandatory for testing in school for staff? And Gloria says that her parents didn't come to any of her parents' evening, but she makes sure that she goes to all her boys' parents' evening. And just a quick one, Eddie, you wanted to know what programs people wanted to come back. I've got No Problem, Desmond's, Empire Road, The Fosters.
Why are they all black programs? They don't only have to be black programs.
And I've got Brookside from.
Bury somebody in the patio. Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. Keep your comments coming in, and just remember our sponsors: SEMA, Little Bird, and the Legendary Mastermind, who will be on later on.
Right. Yeah.
Thank
you very much, Boss Lady. Check out Boss Lady. Check out the Boss Lady's Kitchen on Insta. Also, I'm asking, what programs would you like to see come back in? And what's the worst thing to step on in the dark? Right. Stop it. Stop pulling those faces, Juliet. Right. Now, let's get a lady on now who, I don't know. I met her. I didn't meet her. I hosted an event for Enfield Council. If you're talking about Black Governors Network CEO, a formidable lady. I found her formidable. And I always knew when we started this, Curtis, that this lady would be on the show at some point. It was just about finding her. So Sharon Warmington, welcome to Hashtag No Joke.
Hey, how you doing?
How are you, Sharon?
Morning.
So you put your clip in the thing, have you? Tell everybody what it is. Let's get that out of the way. www.
Yeah, that's the website NBGN. It is where you will find how best to contact me if you're interested in becoming a governor. If you are an existing Black governor, we do events for you as well by way of support. If you are a parent or a carer and you live in Camden or Islington, there are a series of free events that are happening, fully funded. So do get in touch with us. All of the events that we're doing or that I'm involved in delivering in terms of training are on there. And if there's anything else, any question you've got that we don't cover today, then by all means drop me a line and I will do my best to answer it.
Why would a parent want to? By the way, this is Julia, and that's Curtis, right?
Hi, Julia.
Why would somebody?
Hello.
Why don't you say hello to? You didn't say hello to me like that.
So
no, but I see when John brings the comedy, when Upfront Comedy is in Birmingham and Curtis comes, I always make sure I get my ticket because I gotta go and see Curtis.
That's right, man. Don't let him hate on us, girl. Hater got to hate. You know what I mean?
Let me get the bucket. So, as I said, we did a gig for Enfield Council for Mervyn and those guys. And I was so impressed with you. I thought it was fantastic. One of the things that I've always wanted to know is about, the first thing somebody said to me is be involved in the school community. Tell me about what you do, what kind of work you do.
Well, I'm a school governor. I've been in governance all of my working life, really, in the private sector as well as the third sector and the education sector. But I prefer the education sector purely because it is about the life of our children. And it's at a strategic level. If you become a governor in a school, you are, in essence, part of the policy and strategic making decisions. So you could be trying to make changes as a parent, and that's bottom up. But if you are a governor, you're making the changes top down, and that's really where most of the change takes place. So if you're not happy with a particular school policy, whether it's the uniform policy, the behaviour policy, the anti-bullying policy, any of those, they are set at a strategic level. So having an argument with a teacher about a policy isn't going to change the policy, because the teachers always have to operate against the in line with the school policy, and they can't deviate from that.
One second, Sharon. Why do I have to wait till I'm unhappy with anything? What about as an ethos, being as involved as I possibly can from day one?
Because the kind of things I get is that people say to me, oh, I can't become a governor because I'm not a parent, which is nonsense. Or I can't become a governor because I'm not old enough, which is nonsense. The only qualification you need to become a governor is to be over the age of 18. You can apply to a local authority, you can apply directly to the school, and if there is a vacancy, then you can complete the application and be appointed. You don't even necessarily have to have a certain skill set, because even if, regardless of your background, you have yourself, your lived experience that you can bring to the table. And as Evelyn said, there's only 3% of Black and Asian head teachers, which means that the number for Black African Caribbean is a lot lower than that. And it's the governors who appoint the head teachers. So we're not going to increase the number of head teachers if we don't increase the number of governors who are appointing those head teachers.
Juliet, let me bring you in here. So in terms of, because you come to this as an educationalist and you come to it as a parent, how involved were you in your children's school and schooling?
Very, very. Mainly because they were so awful. And therefore, I was there all the time. I say awful, and that's wrong. My children are very opinionated. They're very verbal, very vocal. If there's certain things that they don't quite understand the reason they should be doing certain things, they will say so. They've been brought up not to do it in rude way, but to actually speak up for themselves.
You're talking to two social commentators. We know, me and Curtis know exactly what you mean. Go for it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how they've been brought up. So they were constantly on the phone to me. I'm not going to go into details, but you know, I've had to step in before my daughter, my one daughter, was removed from the school because of something that happened to her, because of a circumstance. And I had to go in there and set them right. And make sure that they did not do that, because I understand that pipeline from exclusion to prison. It's real, you know.
So when I say that to people, they get a lot of pushback, because I say 75% of people in prisons can't read or write. Illiteracy rates in prison is incredibly high. Children are excluded, and we'll talk about this. Black kids are disproportionately excluded from schools, and they end up in PRUs. PRUs have become a recruiting ground for things like county line. So that pipeline that you're talking about is real. Before I come back to you, Sharon, let me ask you, Juliet, was there a difference, because you've done public school and private school, right? Oh, so you've done the state system and private. Was it different?
I would say that the difference was, certainly in the private sector, that my son was quite often the only Black child in the class. So he had an experience that I had. When I first came to England from Guyana, I was often the only Black child in the class. And then he then had the same thing in private school. He was at a boarding school. And I think that he had to fight and do battle in the way I had to fight and do battle back in the 60s. And I didn't appreciate or expect that in this day and age. But he had to become a warrior, and I had to equip him to both with his history, with the facts, with a language, a diplomacy also. So he's not seen as some sort of crazy, angry Black man, as I was seen as an angry Black woman for quite a long time. So you have to equip your children with the weapons that they need to survive a society, and that includes education.
Juliet, how proud were your parents that you were the only Black child in that school?
I don't think they were proud. No, I don't think it was a matter of pride or anything. It was just where we settled, and we were the only Black family. They thought that we were the only African family, according to the head teacher. We're not African. We came from Guyana, but anyway.
Originally, you're from Africa, though.
That's right, and I'm an African woman. But I don't think it was a matter of pride. I don't think that came into it. My mother
I only say that because generationally, the stereotypes are there, and I think a lot of people aspired to get their black child into a white school. Aspired. When you're there with you're learning, go and hang with the Chinese for maths, go and do this for that. There was a lot of stereotypes with that because I grew up in a predominantly black school and went to school predominantly black, but my parents were always had an eye on another school for me. Yeah. And I know the reasons why. I just wondered if that was the case with you.
Well.
This was years ago. It was you know, I'm slightly older than you, Curtis, just a few years.
Yeah.
Many. I didn't want to go there, but I hear you.
Sharon, this diplomacy thing is really interesting because while we want to make interventions or while we want to present cases for our children, Sharon, surely the way that we put forward our argument is going to work. Actually, that they're talking about what I say as opposed, this is my problem in my private life as well. They're talking about what you say as opposed to the way you say it. Sharon, how important is diplomacy?
When you're dealing with schools, I refer to languages. If you're going into another country, you can't force them to speak the language that you want them to speak. You've got to speak the language that they're used to hearing or that in which they communicate in. So the same with a school. You've got to understand where they're coming from and where they're at. As a parent, I raised my children. Both of my children went to a private school in their youth. My daughter then went on to a grammar school. My son went into a state school. Their learning experiences were very different. And one of the main reasons for that we don't always acknowledge as parents or as people, Black people especially, is the trauma that our children experience in their young lives play out. If they don't play out at home, they play out at school. And so I got divorced when my children were 3 and 5 years old. And I immediately saw the impact of that on their education and on their personal lives. And I had to work with that and make sure that I wasn't just beating on them to say, you've got to get your education, but working with them because they were completely annihilated in terms of their home life. So school then became their safety net, the thing that didn't change because of the struggles and everything that I was going through as now being a single mom. So it's important that we communicate with our schools to let them know what's happening. And I know as Black people, we like to keep everything private, but we have to put our children first. It's really important.
So what you're doing is, in a way, as Evelyn was saying, and her one was the telephone number, but you think it's important to let the school know about the change of circumstance.
Yes, absolutely, because they have to know, because while something may trigger them in terms of their behavior, if the school knows that it's because of just something that they're experiencing, they know that it's then out of character. And it's not that there's less punishment, but there's more leniency. I'm not saying for everything, and I'm not saying for everybody, but there may be more leniency in terms of understanding. A recent executive head that I was speaking to had this exact same experience, and they didn't punish this student in the way that they would usually do with an exclusion, because they knew that they were going through a lot of stuff at home. And so we have to understand that our children, when we're going through personal issues as well, it impacts our children, and we have to be aware of that. We can't just, back in my day, it was, sit down and shut up, not through money kind of thing. We can't treat our children like that because it doesn't work like that anymore.
So Sharon,
and the other thing,
was you telling the school about your circumstances because of an issue that happened, or did you lead with it?
I led with it because I wanted the school to be aware that this was happening and the potential impact on my children.
Okay,
because I knew it happened. However, I had to swallow my pride. It was my pride. I had to swallow my pride and say, look, this is the situation, this is the circumstance, just in case anything, if my daughter's a little bit quiet or my son goes a little bit quiet, this could be the reason why. Because they were dealing with stuff at home. They were literally watching the breakup of their parents. and I wasn't going to turn around and think, oh, they're small, they don't get what's going on. Of course they get what's going on. I still remember things when I was 2 and 3 and 4 years old, and my parents are still together, but that doesn't mean that I didn't experience stuff in my life that impacted how I was at school. And so we've got to get rid of this, this thing about not sharing things. We've got to make sure that we put our children first, and that was my leading point.
Well, hold on, Sharon. You're right. Of course, you're right. Yeah. Let me start by saying that. But Julia, I guess you got some experience of this one as well. Apart from the police knocking the door, the other great enemy all the way through my childhood was social services. The minute I tell them about that, my children become a statistic, don't they? Juliet, tell me I'm wrong.
No, I'm going to tell you you're wrong, and I'm going to absolutely agree. Schools see what's in front of them. If they see a behavior, if they see a child who can't regulate because they don't understand how to regulate, and all they can do is be angry or hit out, then that's all they're going to see, and that leads to exclusion. And let me tell you,
did you tell them? That's the question. Before you go off on that, Julia, hold on. Yeah. Did you tell them?
Yes. Yes. My circumstances are quite similar in terms of a divorce. Absolutely, yes, because there were circumstances where my child did not have the maturity or the diplomacy to hold on to their feelings and therefore would explode. And I wanted to make sure that I, as the adult and the one who could hold on to it and explain it, was able to explain it. Listen, if my child fell over and hurt themselves, they didn't have crutches, but they hurt themselves, I'm going to tell the teachers, don't make them do gym. Don't make them climb any ropes or jump on a hobby horse or whatever it is, because that child is injured. And it's the same thing. And middle-class families, whether it's black middle class or white middle class, they pick up the phone and speak to the teachers. So we need to, you don't throw all your stuff, you don't wash your dirty linen in public, but you explain things in a way that they understand why a child is acting in a certain way. COVID is a great, how many of our black students have lost parents or relatives through COVID, or who have suffered? Black Lives Matter has impacted on our young people. I can see it in their faces. It impacts on me as a big, hard back person. Why wouldn't it as a child? And they are suffering. We need to understand that suffering. We need to give them space. We have to do that. Otherwise, we're going to lose this generation.
Okay, I got some. I can see the time. I'm going to get some quick fire questions in for both of you from me and Curtis. But let me invite the boss lady to come back on, please, because I can see those comments coming in thick and fast. They might be comments or questions, boss lady. I'm happy for whatever you got.
Okay, Gail says building positive relationships between pupils and teachers is vital. Michelle says being a governor is a role that all parents should become. That's how black parents can influence and create change at school. Olivia says she's 27 and she's been a governor for 3 years. It's one of the best moves she's ever made on a personal and professional journey. Joan says, agreed, children need to be raised to have their own opinion and should be seen and heard. It was different back in the day. And Donna says, so true. How can schools support families if difficulties are hidden? And Shelley says, I'm going to inquire about being a governor at a daughter's school. Thanks for the encouragement. Those are the lovely kinds of texts. And just a quick one, loads of comments about what programs people like.
No, we'll come to that. I'll bring you back on to that. Let me stay on the education. I promise you, I'll come bring you back on that. Thank you very much. That's boss lady there. Thank you. Talking to us about what's going on with that. Okay, so I'm going to go there. Right? I'm going to ask a few questions, and then we're going to do it. Let's see if we can get a few in. So work with me and keep them short. We'll do it again. It's singularly the biggest issue in my life, my children, their governance, when they turn from being perceived as cute, innocent, wonderful kids to the most dangerous people on the planet. So it's really important. I see kids killing themselves on the street. So I've always wanted to do this show. So bear with me. Curtis has got his questions. Let's go. So first question to you, Sharon. We've talked about the pipeline. Why are so many black children a disproportionate and growing number of black children being excluded from school?
I can't speak to the reasons why they're being excluded in terms of the individual numbers, but what I can say is that no child can be excluded unless it's against the behaviour policy. They have to have done something behaviourally for them to be excluded. Only the head teacher can exclude. And you as a parent, if your child has been excluded, it is your responsibility to get involved in the process and understand the process of how you can overturn that exclusion. And I am doing a training session on that. And Camden and Islington have also done one on that as well. So anybody who's in that situation, then please do get in touch.
Right, Juliet, and Curtis, jump in whenever you want, right? I've got an issue with discipline. So one of the things when our children were born, boss lady said to me is, if you ever touch my child, meaning hit my child, I will kill you. So it was clear from day one that that was not going to be part of our disciplinary process. But I wonder if you do beat your children and handle them in a particular way, when they go into school and the teacher says, Tobias, would you like to do this for me? Would you please do that? It comes across as you're asking me and you're not telling me, therefore I have a choice not to do it. Is that, do you understand where I'm going? How much does discipline at the home, supplemented by, echoed by, duplicated by discipline at school matter?
I think it does, but I'm not thinking of discipline as a physical discipline. I'm one of those strange children who was never disciplined physically by my parents or my grandparents. They would tell me how disappointed they were, and that nearly killed me. I would rather they beat me.
Yeah, that gets into your soul. Yes.
My mother would say, Miss Alexander, and I can still feel it here. It would kill me. I'd rather she slapped me or something, but she wouldn't do that. And I didn't bother with my children because if I started, I'd probably never stop. They were so awful at times. I taught them about their feelings. Communication, I think, is one of the biggest things with young people. I think if they're frustrated and angry, they'll lash out. If you can show them and explain to them how to communicate their distress or their conflict or whatever it is, I think that works. And I think it works both in a home setting and I think it works in a school setting where discourse is encouraged. And I think that's the single most thing we can do for our young people, to give them language and to instill them, an ability to explain themselves. My son would say, if a teacher was a real so-and-so, he'd say, I'm sorry I seem to be angry that just now, but what you said really hurt me. It did something to me that I can't quite explain because I'm not very old, but it hurt me. It made me feel small.
Wow.
What can you do?
Curtis, let me jump in there, because what we're talking about is conflict resolution, and you probably had more of them than even I have. In terms of, I remember Baroness Scotland coming and interviewing her, right, and her saying to me that she wanted to start a debating society. I thought it was the best thing in the world. Curtis, what have you learned about conflict resolution, just generally? Because that's quite a good one, isn't it?
It's a fantastic one. And hearing the ladies talk about the articulation of children, it's so important, because where you're going to win out, Eddie, I believe, with your boys is you talk so much. Do you know what I mean? And as much as it's a negative thing to me, because I find it really annoying, your sons will say, oh, Dad chats a lot, but you're articulated. I'm tired of seeing parents not communicating with their children. It's about that oral tradition that exists. And when you go around society and you see everybody in their phone, you're on the bus and a baby, your child is crying out for a little attention, and it might come across like they're being rude, but they're saying, communicate with me, talk to me. And the parent's like, oh, shush, wait, I'm on the phone. And it drives me mad, because with my boys, I talked a lot and we talked a lot. And one thing about it, and it might come off as sassy coming from a young person, but they're very articulate. They can communicate, even when they were upset or not upset. They were funny. They are funny. They are articulate. And I think that is something that we need to celebrate in young people. even these rappers or these grime artists and all of these kids, when you're putting pen to paper, there's nothing more beautiful for me watching a young person put pen to paper or whatever it is now, type or text. It's a beautiful thing because it's about communication. A lot of them young people who can't communicate, who struggle with that, I think that breeds aggression. I think that breeds a kind of short fuse. It's like a child in a classroom who's been asked to read and can't read. And they stand up in the classroom, what they'll do is deflect it. They're not going to be embarrassed. So they're going to make a joke maybe, or they're going to turn it into something else. And it becomes a violence in the classroom because you put pressure on them. And I would love to ask these ladies, this is the question I want to ask. How important is educating children now rather than hitting targets?
I think the first thing to understand is that education isn't just in the school or in the classroom. Education takes place in every aspect of life. For anybody, if they've come out of the first lockdown and the second lockdown having not learned anything new, they've wasted time. You are an eternal student, and that's how you grow and move forward. And if you do that as an adult and you've got children around you, they will emulate what you're doing. They will mirror what you're doing. But learning takes place all the time.
Absolutely.
Julia, have you ever said sorry to your children?
Oh gosh, yes.
You're a failure. My mother.
No. You don't apologize.
No need. See you as a grown person, somebody they look up to.
You were going to say grown ass man, weren't you? That's what you were going to say. You corrected yourself. You can say it. You can say it.
As a grown person. No, of course you say, I apologize. I was angry with myself and I felt when I shouldn't have done so.
Never.
Is that not weakness?
Weakness, man.
You know what?
You might say, that's another way of looking at it. I might give him that. That's another way of looking at it. Okay. We might go your way then.
If you want to teach them how to bend the truth. The
only way they're going to survive.
Well, have we not learned? And it's interesting to hear both of you say that you private school was an option for you. Are we not? Is our country not being led by people who attended private school? And have we not learned something called paper clever, emotional intelligence? What my mum used to call common sense is really important. Sharon, can you teach common sense?
No, common sense is not common at all. You can learn it, but it's not common. And usually the more intellect you have is the less common sense you have, in my opinion. But remember that the independent schools or private schools are not necessarily for the brightest children. It's just the ability of a parent to pay for their education.
Money.
It doesn't mean that they're smarter. It really does. So all those people.
Not at the end. You're talking about at the beginning. Doesn't it mean they're smarter at the end?
No,
it doesn't.
No.
It really doesn't.
Because look how many people.
But it means society thinks they're smarter. Society thinks they're smarter because of the school they put on that application form.
That's right.
Society thinks them and must be brighter. But it's never the case.
How's that going, Curtis?
It's going all right, bruv. It's going all right.
Do you know what private school does teach? What private schools and public schools, as we call them here, it teaches a confidence.
Yeah, that's swagger.
A child to assume a level of confidence that they may not always feel, but it teaches them also that they have a right. And I think that's something we can teach our children. We don't need to spend £40,000 a term.
Fine. How do you teach that if you don't believe it in yourself? It is a thing that mates of mine who have decided to send their children to be privately educated say the same thing. It teaches them to have the confidence to believe that they can be anything, do anything, and we can see that in government right now, I think.
Yeah.
Very true.
They
believe they can fly. They believe they can fly.
When people used to say to me, how can I do this or how can I do that? I used to say, Trump's in the White House. I mean, that's the level of confidence that he had. you can do and be what you want to be if you are willing to put in the work. I'm not saying that you won't hit stumbling blocks. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. But I'm in my 50s now. My
no way.
No, you're not.
I did it already, Eddie. Leave it.
Sorry. I was a bit late with that, Sharon.
You're
Sorry.
very late.
The sentiment is still appreciated. Thank you.
You're welcome.
My whole focus now is not about trying to make the fundamental changes for me to see. It's about putting the things in place that my children and my grandchildren can build on, because we are not going to be around to the end of racism, the end of mass exclusions, the end of this, the end of that. All we can do is start to make the way for others to pick up the mantle. That's what we have to do. Sometimes we're looking for the quick win, and we're not going to get it. We have to look generationally. What changes do we want to see going forward?
And can I just echo something Sharon said earlier about governors? You do not have to have a child attending the school to become a governor. And I think that's a very poignant thing you said, because I didn't know that until today.
Yeah.
So just to echo that.
That's really important. But also, it's not just about being a governor. For instance, I have career speed networking. I have parents who volunteer to come in to speak to the year 8s about their pathways, their career pathways, about the things they love. They do that at year 10, year 11, 12, all the way along. You, as a parent, can volunteer. Anything you have, any life or lived experience, it's worthwhile for a child. And when they sit there and they see you as a Black person, coming in, giving of your time and sharing your experience.
Whatever color child you are.
Yeah, that's right.
But that's what I'm saying. It influences everybody, doesn't it? I have to end the show, and you lot are talking and making way too much sense, right? But just like in all my life, I believe in leaving people wanting more. Curtis, what did your careers teacher tell you that you would be?
Successful, Eddie. Successful. He lied. You know what? I told this story before. My school, Tulse Hill School in South London, Mr. Evans said, we're leaving school. The last words he said to us as we were leaving as big people is we should just have a police van outside and put you all in it. No. Those were words that came out of his mouth. No. We should just have a police van at the gate and put you all in it. And that was his farewell to us.
Yeah, he wasn't far wrong though, was he?
He was far wrong, Eddie. Far wrong.
Okay. Sharon.
Yeah.
You've been every bit as magnificent as I thought you would be. Thank you for coming on the show. What I'd like to ask you to do now is to tell us how much of a sponge our children are, and if people wanted to find out more about what you do, where they could go.
Anybody who wants to ask a question, whether you're a parent or you're interested in becoming a governor or whatever the reason, if it's about education and educational governance, then nbgn.co.uk. We have a number of events going on. I'm available to speak with you about particular issues. If you are a parent and you want to go into be a governor in your child's school to challenge the school, then I would say that's probably not the school for you, because when you're operating as a governor, you operate as one, and it's not about your individual child. But if you have a passion for being a governor, then there are thousands of schools out there waiting for you.
Okay. Just as it's coming to my head, Joan, if you're watching, and I'm sure you are, please put in the group. She's put a kind of guide as well. She sent me yesterday, but sorry. Before you go, Sharon, Sunday is a day. So we do this, and Curtis's mum is singing hymns and praying for him, burning candle and all sorts. My mum is got the blue bath, but she's also scrubbing. She's also scrubbing a Dutch pot. That scrubbing a Dutch pot is not something you do, is it, Sharon?
No.
Show them your name.
I must admit, I don't scrub Dutch pots. I don't even own a Dutch pot.
Wow.
I'll tell you why I don't own a Dutch pot, because I don't have time to cook. I'm an entrepreneur, and my time is better spent
All right,
earning
cut
money.
her off, Eddie.
Yeah,
Let her go, Eddie. Let her go. Let her go. Let her go.
There's one in the house that's the same as you. You can cook. What was it that you said that you and Miss Lady were?
I'm an entrepreneur. I can cook, but I choose not to cook because my hourly rate as an entrepreneur is.
What was the vegetable seaweed thing that you talked about?
Hang on, this is coming from your house. I bought sea moss because I'm changing my diet and exploring different things. And
you're easily influenced. Do not tell a boss lady. Nothing good will come of you.
You married her.
You go, girl. You go, girl.
You need to come off on the shore. Come off on the shore. God bless you, Sharon. Thank you for
that. Mr. Slimmit, say hello to John for me.
As I said, formidable lady. Lovely thing. Did you see them?
Jeez, I couldn't even type with them, much less anything else.
I'm not thinking of typing.
You can wipe your eye.
No, let's get the seaweed lady back on, please.
Hello.
Hello, seaweed lady.
Seamoss,
it's called Seamoss, Eddie. And it's good for you. Everybody's raving about Seamoss since you mentioned it.
Yeah.
Boss lady. Nice.
Boss lady, what we got?
You're changing the world, baby. You're changing
go on.
I'm trying.
Tell them about the leaves you picked up as you were jogging today.
I picked up no leaves. I do have herbs in my cupboard. You know, if someone's got a cold or you're suffering from high blood pressure, or I believe there's a remedy for any disease out there.
You know,
and you found it while you were jogging?
Lisa, you're absolutely right. You and I should talk. You know what? Don't worry about that man, that other one. You and I should talk because it's absolutely true. Everything that can cure anything on this earth is right here.
I believe
it's not in Wanstead. Everything ain't in the park in Wanstead. How much things to pick up this morning?
It might not be in Wanstead, but it's around. It's on our land.
The boss lady is, I catch her this morning taking the things off the Christmas tree downstairs to put in the pot to make up. So, I don't know.
Oh, go away.
You're going a bit far. You're going a bit far.
Okay, sorry. What have we got? What messages have we got, please?
We've got, I'm going to go on straight to the fun ones. We've got loads of programs that people would like to come back.
Right.
Dallas.
Yes.
Dallas, yeah.
Dreaming.
The Waltons.
Woo!
Good night, Grandpa.
Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Bobby.
Falcon Crest.
Oh, yes. I can't remember anybody in that, but I do remember it.
Remember Chips?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great Jill.
Yeah,
Great Jill. Yes. Good shout.
Little House on the Prairie.
Oh, good.
House on the Prairie. Charles Ingalls.
Charles Ingle.
And
yeah,
Mary.
but that's the big show.
Mary.
And who?
Mary was in Little House on the Prairie, wasn't she?
Oh, Mary, yes.
Mary was in the sweet shop. That wasn't the daughter. The daughter was Laura Ingle, wasn't it?
Laura Ingle's father was Laura Ingle. Bouquet of barbed wire.
No, that's hold on a minute. Juliet is that. Oh, by the way, Juliet, I'm really sorry. You didn't need to get vexed when she said she was in her 50s. I saw the look on your face.
Well, I'm with them. My twins are 32 next week.
Wow.
But I am only 25.
Yeah,
wow,
You got children like me. You got children older than you. Do you remember Bouquet of Hold on a minute. Sorry, boss lady.
Bouquet.
Do you remember
Bouquet?
Your bomb.
Yeah, that
not
was
Bouquet.
Your bomb. Your BBC.
Your
BBC.
Your boom boo.
Your BBC. Right. So Bouquet of barbed wire. Right. Do you remember it?
Yes. It was filthy, wasn't it?
It was absolutely disgusting. I had to watch that on a Sunday with my mum. Frank Finley, Susan Penhaligon. It was so wrong, that program. They should never bring that back. Sorry, go on, boss lady. Sorry,
just a few more. Love Thy Neighbor. Widows. The Gentle Touch. Tales of the Unexpected. and Sesame Street.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
Tales of the Unexpected is actually on one of the
It's
channels.
on, mate.
I'm
Yeah.
sure it is.
Yeah.
And just a few things that people hated stepping on in the dark. Yvonne says a mouse.
Oh, stop. Yeah.
J.R. Reid.
What kind of house does she live in?
Yours.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
J.R. Reid says a plug. Angela says a cat. And
Yes.
the biggest one,
Yes.
which I agree with, is Lego.
Oh
Yes. Yeah.
No,
No, it's very unforgiving. But that's
Can you step
what
on a
I want to
cat
beat
in
the
the
kid.
dark? Can you step on a cat?
If the cat's sleeping, yeah.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, if the cat's sleeping.
Very easily.
Boss lady, thank you very much. You can see the boss lady running, taking over the show and running her thing at the. Can you see that there? It's just like we've created a monster. You see what's happening?
Oh,
if you
shine, baby, shine. Because I'm viewing you every week. And this morning when you went for that run, I was so proud of you, man. And I got on my bike straight after and I'm cycling my little...
As long as you're moving, walking,
I'm moving,
running,
baby, I'm moving.
cycling.
This is a whole new year for me.
Bye.
Same thing I said last year.
Bye-bye.
New year.
Lovely to have you on the show. Bye.
See you next week.
Bye. Lovely to be guests on your show.
Juliet.
Yeah, bye, dear. Bye.
Juliet,
lucky there, you know.
Beg pardon?
You struck lucky.
Very.
She's punching above her weight. I keep telling her that.
Every week I say that. Amazing how he's done, ain't he? And look,
he has.
Do you know? Can I just tell you, when you say things like that, you know the problems you cause me. It takes half an hour for me to get that foolish. Curtis said I'm beautiful. You're lucky to have me. Shut up. Shut up and go boy leave. Shut up. So,
at least you got the Christmas tree, Eddie. You'll be eating that for weeks now.
Yeah.
So Juliet, thank you for coming on.
My pleasure.
You know, we tried before and it didn't work, but I'm so glad. Has it been all right for you? Has it been okay?
Yeah. I thought you lot were going to give me grief. Thank goodness.
No. We need this is your induction. After this, we can go in. Will you come back one day? Will you come back? Because I think we're going to be here for a few more weeks.
Love to come back. Yeah. And
God
we can
bless
talk
you.
about education and all sorts.
I think the thing I want to talk to you about next time, if you can get researching, please, is adult education. I think there's so many of us who think my greatest thing in my life, the biggest hang up I've got above all of the others, is that I didn't do a degree.
Right.
And I feel like less than because I haven't got one. I feel like I need to do one. And I think there are lots of people out there to do with adult education, and retraining has become a big part through this whole procedure with the COVID thing. So I'd love to talk to you about that in future weeks. God bless you. Thank you for doing it, my love.
Happy
to the
New
children.
Year.
And thank you so much. You're fantastic.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Nice to see you. Bye, darling. Oh, well done, Eddie. That was nice. Nice show.
It was a different show, wasn't it?
Yeah, but very, very needed. Education. As your mate Robbie G said in his latest.
Why you keep calling Robbie's name? What you and Robbie got that I don't know about?
No, because I know it fills your heart with joy when I mention it.
Robbie hasn't worked through the pandemic, and Robbie could survive forever. When I went to see Robbie before the pandemic, I had to ask him to come and sit in the car so that we could get a little warm. He is the most careful guy you ever known in your life, and I love him. He's my brother. Okay, so Kurt, look, thank you again.
Well done.
Magnificent. I appreciate it. Look after yourself. And we'll keep riding the bike and we'll talk again, yes?
All right, sir. See you soon.
God bless you, my brother. Thank you very, very much indeed. So thank you again. Thank you for being with us. I appreciate your support. If there are subjects that you think that we should be talking about, then please let us know. It's really, really important. We're keeping the show going. Andy, Seema, thank you. Little Bird, Alison, thank you. Lewis Mastermind, well, not Lewis, really. Hugh and Arnold. or Arthur Arnold, as I call him, thank you very much. We didn't have the technical problems we had last week. We've looked to improve those. We're looking to improve the show. If there's a way, buying a t-shirt, GoFundMe, any way you can support us to keep getting better and to stay on air. If there's a subject, as I say, that you'd like us to deal with, then please tell us. Lewis is on from 4 to 7. Quincy, my brother, is back on the radio tomorrow. Look out for him. As I say, thanks to the entire team that's come together to help us put this show up there. I'm back at work tomorrow on the radio, so if you fancy listening to BBC Radio London, I'm on there between 5 and 8. And special thanks to the boss lady. Check her out on Instagram, Boss Lady's Kitchen. Look after yourself. Tough times, right? Listen, I can't tell you what to do, but certainly from the numbers that I'm looking at, it indicates that we're going to have a tough January and February. Please look after yourselves. You can be who you want to be, do what you want to do. The only limits to what you can achieve are the limits to your own imagination. Special thanks to Curtis, to Sharon, and to Julia, and congratulations again to Evelyn. We'll see you next week. God bless.